So we are at Linear's new tar farm complex, and we are on Lake 6, and there's a reasonable head of fish in here. I believe there's sort of 300 odd carp in here, maybe a few more, but it's in its infancy. There's no monsters here just yet, but they look very, very pretty from some of the photos that we've seen. There's a nice scaly one. Spirited fight. That was actually on the shorter Zig by the looks of it. The little 2-footer. Might have to switch the other ones over to the 2-foot Zig. It's in this deeper water, 15 foot of water that they seem to be at. So we arrived early this morning. I say early, about 8:30, something like that. And first things first, we had a little wander round. Now, having seen some of the sort of depths from the map that one of the lads had kind of given us, we did have a bit of an idea of where to start. So with the sun beaming down and having seen the depths, I thought probably the best place to start would be in the shallower water. And that was quite conveniently just as you come in the gate. So first things first, we started to set up there. And upon walking around there, we did see a little bit of coloured water next to some of the reeds opposite. So gave us a little bit of hope. I'm here to zig fish today, and with the sun beating down, being spring, targeting the carp with Zig Rigs can be very, very effective. So knowing the depths that we already had, I decided to rig up a couple of short zigs. It was sort of 6 foot, so decided to do one at 2, one at 3, and one at 3.5. I kept them nice and low, having seen a little bit of coloured water, and it was clear they're not right on the surface anyway. So started nice and short. The Zig Rigs were kept nice and simple, just a couple of different colours of foam on there on zigger liners, and one of them had a few maggots attached as well, just for an extra little bit of movement really. Like I said, they're real young fish, probably haven't seen Zig Rigs or anything like that before, so felt like maybe that extra bit of movement on the hook would entice them more so than just a standard bit of foam. Anyway, the rods were out around an hour or so, something like that. The wind started trickling into that bay, and we had a take on the middle rod. There's a nice scaly one. Come on then, mate. Spirited fight. Oh, swam straight in. That was actually on the shorter Zig by the looks of it. The little 2-footer. Okay. Might have to switch the other ones over to the 2-foot Zig. But yeah, it's a start. Pretty little carp, that one. Well, that is a little example of the beautiful carp that are in Tar Farm Lake 6. We've been lucky enough to get on here just before it opens, so it's very much in its infancy at the moment, but wow, it's got some future. That is a beautiful, beautiful little carp. Didn't take too long to catch either, so I'm hopeful of another bite or two. And hopefully we'll get one 10 or 20 pounds bigger than this one. But it's a start. Beautiful, beautiful spring day. And yeah, stunning, scaly little mirror. We'll get her back anyway and see if we can catch another one. We decided to persist for another couple of hours or so, and I got itchy feet, if I'm honest. So I said to Joe, the cameraman, that I'm going to go for a little wander on the back of the wind. The wind didn't feel that warm, the temperature did, but the wind didn't. So I had a little walk around and found this little deep bay, which is actually where you find us now. Now, again, having seen the map from one of the bailiffs, we'd learnt that this area was a lot deeper than where we were fishing, sort of 15, 16 foot in places. So it gave me the opportunity to dig the deeper out from the bag. I had a little flick round, maybe 4 or 5 casts, and it told us exactly what, or it confirmed even, what the bailiff has said. It was 15 foot out there. It's in this deeper water, 15 foot of water that they seem to be at. And what was even more interesting was that a few fish symbols were showing up. Now, I had cast about in a few other swims as well, and it was very, very bleak. Saw nothing, just a little bit of weed on the bottom, but pretty barren if I'm honest. But upon flicking it into this bay, we started seeing some fish symbols. 7, 8, 9 fish symbols came up, and the great thing about the deeper is it shows you at what depth the fish are sitting at, and it was clear that they were anything between sort of 2 and 4 foot under the surface. Now, having seen that, I was obviously full of confidence, so ran back to Joe, got the rest of the gear, whipped up some longer Zig Rigs, sort of 9 foot, 10 foot zigs, and promptly cast them out. And that is basically where you find us now. We're in the swim, the sun is beating down, it's flat calm where we're fishing here, and according to the deeper, we are on a few carp. Now, without that, we haven't seen any signs today at all other than that coloured water up the top. So let's hope the deeper was bang on and we get another chance. Zig fishing plays a very important part in my angling, particularly at this time of year, sometimes in the winter months too, just because it's summertime, you think all the fish are up in the water, Zig rigs are going to score, but actually some of the best times to fish zigs are in the winter time and in the spring. I've been fortunate enough to fish some decent waters over the years, and I've caught some really, really nice carp using Zig rigs to over 30 pounds. And some of the best captures and some of the best waters that I've fished for Zig rigs are actually the deeper ones. They tend to be the waters that take a lot longer to warm up. And so a Zig rig fish sort of mid-depth, sort of 3/4 depths can often score well when you're not catching them on the bottom. I've actually had a fish over 30 pounds recently on a Zig. That is in a very, very deep lake that I'm fishing in Cambridge. It goes down to sort of 26, 27 feet. And a little Zig float fished sort of 7, 8 foot under the surface did the trick, and it was a lovely, lovely carp. And on that session, I didn't catch anything off the bottom, so the Zig rig really scored well on that session. Now, in terms of rigs and tactics, I guess I probably look a little bit barbaric when it comes to Zig rig fishing. I don't go down to size 10, 12 hooks or anything like that. I'd still fish a reasonable size hook, sort of a size 8 wide gape, lovely and sharp, more than strong enough to land 40 or even a 50 pounds carp, of course, as long as it's not too snaggy, etc. But I've had some very, very big fish on sort of 10 pound, 11 pound hook links, size 8 hooks. There's just no need to go so lightweight on Zig rigs. Hook bait choice really does vary. When you see sort of fly hatches and that stuff going on, I do like to fish sort of smaller hook baits, still on a reasonable size hook, that size 8, but I tend to fish sort of little bits of foam, little bits of black foam to maybe mimic those sort of insects and fly hatches. But on the opposite end of that, I have actually caught fish on very, very bright, high attract 15mm pop-ups. It varies from water to water, so it's important to try both. Whichever one works, obviously you can then switch all your tactics to that successful method. In terms of lead setups, I like to keep things very simple again, the main emphasis being anti-tangle properties. I do away with any sort of leader behind the lead. I just have my main line direct to a safety clip, just a hybrid clip or a normal safety clip with a tail rubber on the end. If it's particularly weedy, I may get rid of that tail rubber and just PVA tape the lead on. Next to that, I've got a nice long anti-tangle sleeve. That just helps the hook link kick away on the cast, and then just simply some 11 pound zig line through to a size 8 wide gape. That very, very rarely tangles, as long as when you're casting, you make sure you hit the clip before it hits the water, or you trap the lead again before it hits the water, making sure that that hook link is kicked away nice and straight. Then you can feel your lead down to the bottom. That will do pretty much all you need to prevent tangles. You can put a little PVA nugget or something like that on the end, but to be honest, if you cast correctly, hit the clip every time, you won't need one. I fish a nice big lead as well. I fish a 4 ounce lead pretty much wherever I go when I'm zig fishing. That allows me to fish a nice tight line, so the moment that fish picks up the hook bait, I get indication. Not only that, with a zig rig, obviously, a fish is almost snatching at the bait, a bit like a perch taking a lure, I guess. They're snatching at that hook bait, so the heavier lead also helps to pull that hook home. Now, of course, all these tactics are very much personal preference. I've got pals who love finding down using size 12 hooks, tiny bits of foam, light line, and they think it gets them extra bites. I personally don't. I stick to what I know, and I place more emphasis and importance on actually finding the carp and what depth the carp are at. Now, of course, the deeper is a great tool for doing this, particularly in deeper water. Up there in 5-6 foot of water, I don't rely on it too much. I don't want to be flicking it around over there, disturbing everything. I use it in slightly deeper water, sort of 10, 12 foot and more. And of course that does a few things. It means that you don't have to keep changing your zigs around, chopping different depths, changing different depths, because the deeper will show you at exactly the depth the fish are sitting. It'll be minimal disturbance. You don't need to be whacking a lead around trying to find a clear spot. The deeper will show you how clear it is, so that you're not fishing any towering weed beds or anything like that. So it keeps disturbance down. But obviously the main thing is it's showing you the depth that the fish are at and that you are on a few fish as well. So yeah, a great little tool for helping out. I've got around an hour left of this session, something like that. So fingers crossed something happens. If not, we have managed to catch one, and there's always next time.